slope is. And I'm going to designate what the y-intercept is. So for y equals 3x plus 2, what is the slope? Hopefully you said the slope was 3. Now if you want to write it as a fraction, you write 3 over, hopefully you said 1. Yep, so the slope is 3 over 1. And then that leaves the y-intercept as 2. All right, the second one is a little bit different because it doesn't just say y equals. That's kind of done on purpose just to create, you know, a level of excitement. So before you get any further, you need to make it sure that it's a y equals, because we don't graph y plus 4 equals, we graph y equals. So we're going to solve that. Bring out Mr. T here. And we're going to get that plus 4 out of there. How do you move that plus 4 out of there? That's right, you subtract it. Can you combine 3x minus 4? The answer is no. If you do, you won't get the correct answer. So you just have to be okay with the fact that it's 3x minus 4. We don't know how much that x is worth, but it could be 1, but it could be a lot of other things, and that would really change the value of the final answer. So we have to leave it like that. But that's okay. We'll be okay. So then we're going to find the slope of that one and the y-intercept. So what is the slope of y equals 3x minus 4? The correct answer is 3. What's the y-intercept? The correct answer is negative 4. When you want to write the slope of 3 down, how do you write it? That's correct, 3 over 1. And if you want to let the y-intercept, you just write, don't forget that negative 4. All right. So this first part of identifying these, that's important in order just to get the graphing right. We're going to graph this one blue. I'm going to take a page out of Alex Antonio's playbook, and I'm going to color code these. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and do this one in red. Okay. So we're going to start with our y-intercept at 2. And then if I'm doing a slope of 3 over 1, what way am I going to go? The correct answer is up 3 over 1. Now, most people say you should do at least 3 points before you play connect the dots. The problem is like I have nowhere to go. So this is something that maybe isn't talked about as often, but a 3 over 1 is really the same as a negative 3 over a negative 1. That's because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. All right, so this is really 3 over 1, but at least then you can go down 3 and back 1. And then hopefully whatever utility you're using has a straight line maker on it. I acknowledge that all this graphing takes longer digitally than it would if you were working in class on paper. That makes sense. So give you a few less problems. All right, then the other one we're going to graph, so that was this one. We took care of this one. I know it's a little wild looking on my paper. All right, now we're going to graph the bottom one. We have all this good stuff down here. So where's it going to cross the y-axis? It's going to cross it at negative 4. And then again, the slope is 3 over 1. So how do you do a slope of 3 over 1? Yep, up 3 over 1. Up 3 over 1. This one's playing nice because it's not stuck at the top of the graph to begin with. All right, and I'm going to get out my line maker and connect that. And when you're looking for the solution to a system of equations, and more than one equation is graphed, what spot are you looking for? You're looking for the spot where it crosses or it intersects. But if you look here, you can see it doesn't intersect at all. In fact, do you remember what these lines are called? They're called parallel lines. Now, when you're doing the math, there was like a moment of truth there where you maybe could have spotted it ahead of time, because parallel lines happen to have what kind of slopes? The correct answer is they have the same slopes. So what we would say is, after all of this hard work, which you'd get points for graphing, these are parallel lines. There is no solution. And math people are lazy by nature, so we do have a symbol for that. It would bring me great joy if you drew the symbol. It would mean like, hey, you caught that in the video. It's like a 0 with a slash through. That means no solution. Okay, so that's the one way it can play out. We give you a math problem, and it turns out that they were parallel and there's no solution. That's option 1. Okay, option 2, we'll take a look at, is this one here. This one is 2x plus 1. And then again, this is very strange because it's like a 2y equals, and we don't graph 2y equals. Maybe there's an alternative universe where they always graph 2y equals, but you are not living in that universe. So we're going to just like pretend it's not there, go to our happy place, and think, you know what, I'll take care of that later. And I'm just going to focus on this top one. Okay, so this top one, I'm going to go with purple because that seems kind of exciting. Oops. What's the slope? The correct answer is the slope is 2. How do you write that as a fraction? Yep, 2 over 1. Remember, I'm asking lots of questions so you can get points for this video. And then what's the y-intercept? 1. Okay, so now we have to deal with this. We're actually really close to done with it. We're going to bring in Mr. T and get that y by itself. And how do you well, what does it mean when a number is up against a letter? Does that mean adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? It means multiplying. Math people are just lazy. They don't want to put an extra times in there. They're afraid it'll look like another x. So that's multiplying. And how do you undo multiplying? That's right, you're going to divide. So some people like to write a fraction bar. Some people like to write divided signs. I tend to find that people who like the fraction bar can deal with my divided signs. But people who like divided signs are not always fans of the fraction bar. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. And we're so lazy, we don't even write a 1y. We just write y equals. And then you're going to make sure you divide everything else by 2 also. So 4 divided by 2, I should say 4x divided by 2, it's 2x. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. All right, so crisis averted. It wasn't the end of the world, it just felt like it for a second. Now we have something we can deal with. Oops, we don't want to do that in purple. Giant sigh. All right. So you're looking at this, and you're looking at this equation down here, which we're thinking we're going to maybe do like in green. Green would be fun, right? Fun like a roller coaster is what my sister would say. All right, so the slope of this one is 2, and you write that as 2 over 1. And the y-intercept of this one is 1. All right, so let's graph the purple one. Y-intercept at 1, so it crosses the y-axis at 1. And then how do you graph a 2 over 1? That's right, up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1. We've got enough points that we can play connect the dots. And that is the purple line. I'm going to actually make that purple, I think. Yeah. Okay, and then now we're going to go here. We have a y-intercept of 1. And it says a slope of 2. And how do you do a slope of 2? Yep, still up to over 1. What? Up 2 over 1. It's the same spot. Oh, snap. Well, look at the equations for a second here. Y equals 2x plus 1 and y equals 2x plus 1. Now, it was a setup, but the idea is that sometimes they're in disguise, and it is really the same equation. And when you get them solved, it turns out that actually it's the same line. So the first thing I would want to do is note to myself that, hey, it's the same line. And remember, this is going to happen when we use algebra. So we need to be ready for the idea that this could happen even in algebra, and then we'll talk about what it looks like. Okay, so same line. And having said that, then the question is, how many solutions does it have? And remember, if they never cross, we have no solutions whatsoever. If they're the same line, then every single spot on this line works for both of the equations. So do we have 1 solution? Do we have 3 solutions? Do we have 5 solutions? The fact is, we actually have infinite number of solutions. So infinite number of solutions. So this is going to happen where sometimes it's the same line and there's infinite number of solutions. Okay, and then the last situation is the one that we've been working with and practicing. And so we're going to give this one more run here. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions kind of quickly. So what is the slope? I'm going to stick with black. The slope of this line, it's the y-intercept. All right. And hopefully you said the slope was 5 over 1. And you said the y-intercept is 1. All right, this next one is a little bit more sneaky. So the question is, what is the slope? And what is the y-intercept? And what number is in front if there's no number in front? Because again, mathematicians like to be kind of lazy. So, yep, the answer is 1. And if you wrote 1 as a fraction, it would be 1 over 1. And then what's the y-intercept? Hopefully I didn't trick you and you said -3, not 3. All right, then our last thing we need to do is we need to graph them. So we're going to graph this one. We're going to make the y-intercept at 1. And then we're going to attempt to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Went off. So instead of doing up 5, we're going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to go backwards 1. Because once again, a negative divided by a negative is, let's write a positive. And even though like I feel like safest when I have 3 points, sometimes you just got to deal. Sometimes life doesn't give you exactly what makes you feel the most secure, and sometimes we just got to deal with it. All right, and then we got one more line to graph. So this one's going to cross at -3. And then we're going to go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. This is most people's favorite slope to graph. And if you're like making up answers because you're not sure what's going on, this is the most likely graph that students will give me. And I appreciate the trying. I really do. I don't judge. Obviously, if you knew exactly how to do it, you would just do it. It's not like you're like making up answers just because you think you can reinvent math or something. It's because you're stuck. Or you got a lot of other things going on in your life. And this is something maybe that's hard to focus on. All right. So finally, we have one we can get a solution for. We're looking for what spot? That's right. We're looking for where they cross. And all we need now is coordinates. So what are the coordinates of the spot where that crosses? Yep, you do the x first. So it's -1 and -4. All right, so that's more like what we were practicing in the previous I can statement. That's where we were trying to get you to. But in summary, there's 3 ways that these things can turn out. They can turn out that there's no solution, that you got parallel lines. It can turn out that there's infinite solutions because it's the same line graph twice. Or it can turn out that there's one solution. And thankfully, it's the same solution that we just got.